sunshine. Let's make a Batman cake. A 9-inch cake, and we're gonna cut it in half. This is so we can fill it with buttercream so there's not too much cake. Now I took a round cookie cutter and I kind of just eyeballed it in the center and cut it through. Because my cookie cutter didn't reach all the way to the bottom, I just took a knife and finished trimming it out. The reason we're doing this hole in the middle is because this cake we want to look like an 8 in the end. And this is just 1/2 of the 8, it's the top half. So I take these little inside cake pieces out, and guess what? Those are for me. And so now I take some simple syrup. You can get the recipe off of How to Cake It, the YouTube. Oh my gosh, I love Yolanda. Anyways, so I take some yellow buttercream and I just put a layer in the middle, and then I flip this other cake off the cake board over. I use the cake board to keep it from crumbling because it will fall apart. And then I also do another generous layer of simple syrup, and I do another coat of yellow buttercream, a little quick crumb coat. Now this doesn't have to be perfect, mine sure was not. I let it chill, and then I do this little center spot because where I cut it out there's a lot of crumbs and it will fall apart and crumble if you try to do it with it warm any little bit. So I cooled it first, and then I done this little center filling with its crumb coat. And then, because I had already chilled my cake for a little bit, I went ahead and done my final crumb coat on the overall cake. I used a little metal scraper, which I got, actually I believe at Walmart, pretty cheap. And I just use it to scrape the edges to get it as smooth as possible. And I took a angled spatula and done the top. Now I have some Crisco, which I'm using to grease my counter. It seems when I use powdered sugar, it tends to crack my fondant, so I just use Crisco. I am wearing gloves because black fondant is the devil, and so I just greased my rolling pin and rolled it out and carefully laid it on the cake. I roll a little bit on top just to kind of get out any bubbles, because if not, I have 1,000 bubbles on the top of mine. I take a little knife and cut that little inner piece out, and I just take my hands and a fondant smoother, and I kind of just go around and make sure the cake is smooth, no air bubbles or bumps. This is a time-consuming process, but it has to be done because you want your cake to be smooth. And as you can see, the inside of that little circle still has some yellow. It didn't cover it all the way, but I will show you how I fix that. Smooth it out some more, and then I trim excess fondant. Now what I did to fix that little middle part, I rolled them pieces back out that was down in there, and I cut a small strip about the height of the cake, and I kind of just eyeballed it there. And I just fit it in there and rolled it around in there, like fit it to the cake. Use my hands just to kind of press it as good as I can, and then I rolled the little pieces off the top. I don't know how to explain that without sounding crazy. And then I just smoothed it out with my fingers. And it covers the entire inside. Now you're going to do this entire process twice, because as you see, you need 2 cakes to make an 8. And so I'm going to flip it off of the cake board and onto my main cake board, which will leave fingerprints if you do not cool your cake. I didn't cool mine enough, and so just take a fondant smoother and smooth out any imperfections that you may have from transporting it from one board to the other. And then this one I left on the board. Oh, text message. This one I left on the board so I could see where I wanted to trim it. I did want to trim a small chunk off so it would fit up against the other circle instead of just being 2 circles next to each other. I wanted them to fit together like a puzzle. You see the inside of the cake is black and yellow, you know, Batman. And so I just flipped it off the board on there and pieced it together. And look, we have a big 8. Then I took a template of Batman and a star, some scissors, and an X-Acto knife. I cut out the template because who needs cookie cutters when you can just cut it out with an X-Acto knife and cut it out of your fondant. It's a little more time consuming that way, but it saves you a lot of money with cookie cutters. So I cut out my Batman template, and I also used my X-Acto knife to cut the little bat symbol out of the inside. So next I'm rolling out the yellow fondant again on a greased up counter, and I'm rolling it out, and I'm going to use this to make my stars and my bat symbol and the outer trim of the bat belt. So I'm just taking an X-Acto knife and I am cutting out my bat. I'm cutting out the buckle for the belt, the outer trim part. Okay, so now I'm just taking some scissors and I'm cutting that outer trim off that I wanted to be yellow. So now I'm just going to have the piece that I want to be black. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black fondant and I'm going to roll it out flat, and I'm going to put this small template on it and just get the oval shape off of it. Okay, now that that's done, I also, as you can see, cut out a strip for the belt, which I forgot to record. I'm going to start assembling my belt buckle. So I put the yellow, and then I use water and a paintbrush to attach some black to it. Then I decided I wanted to put the belt down first, so I just took some water and I put it on this belt and I attached it to this cape. I wanted the 8 to look like he was wearing the Batman utility belt, and it also covers the seam where you put the two capes together. So I just took this yellow strip and put it on there and right across where that seam is. Again, using water, I attached this belt buckle onto the center of the belt and straightened it up a little bit, and then I took the symbol of the bat and put it right in the center of the belt buckle. I positioned where I wanted the name, and then one letter at a time I put it back on with water, and same with the stars. I just kind of randomly placed them. I didn't really plan them out, just anywhere that looked like it needed a star. I took some yellow buttercream in a piping bag with a star tip and then just done trim around the bottom, and then you're done. You have a Batman cake. Now time to go fight some crime. Thanks for watching. Bye.